Could you describe God?
I feel that God's a being that just basically runs things.
Honestly, I don't know, and I don't pretend to know, and I don't think I'll ever know. So.
I think God is just a comforting presence, really.
I think God is pretty much whoever you want God to be. And I think that if you believe in one type of God, then I think it'll be that way for you when you get there. So I think it's really hard to say who it is, 'cause I think it changes for a lot of different people.
I think God is the answer to all the questions that people can't answer.
I basically think that God is like a mass of the good energy in the world that filters out through all life and everything, and that kind of really shows when people are good and stuff like that. You know.
He's someone that I rely on if I'm having troubles. I think having faith is an important thing if I'm having a difficult time either with school, things like that.
Do you believe that humans everywhere have a curious idea that they should behave in a certain way?
Yes, I believe because of the way the media portrays things and because of the standards we have as society, like the reinforcement of like things like gender roles and status, that people believe there's a right and wrong. People believe there's a norm, and it's very subjective. As you can see, like over time, like norms have changed. For example, premarital sex was like a bad thing back in the day, in the 1950s. But today, in 2007, most people, not most, that's a huge generalization, but lots of people think it's acceptable.
Yes, I do. I feel that way.
Actually, yes, I do. I think that people see other people and think that that's probably what they should be doing, and that they get the idea from like their parents and friends, and it becomes kind of obvious when you compare it to other people because different styles that don't have as much contact have different ideas about it.
Who do you think Jesus was?
I think Jesus was a man with a message that got blown out of proportion. No, that's not really the right thing to say. Yeah, he was not what we make him out to be today. He was, I guess, just a guy who had a great following.
Pretty much a prophet. I think that it's the Son of God thing works, but there wasn't any proof, so.
Jesus was a very important person with a good idea that got bastardized by everyone that listened to him.
I do think he existed. It's hard to say whether or not he, was the Son of God and everything, but I think that he was someone that connected with people, and people, followed him because they believed him.
I think he was just a dude with a good idea, and yeah.
Person in history, figurehead.
I think he was a guy with a good message and a good heart, but then later people made him this bigger being, right? And like, who knows, maybe in another 1,000 years people think the same of John Lennon or something, just someone who was a big influence on people, who had a good idea and stuff. So.
What do you believe the basic problem with the world is today, and why?
I feel the basic problem is that people don't understand each other, and the reason for that is because different religions, different viewpoints.
Technology too. People focus more on that instead of looking around what's around them and just doing things with their hands, like music and art and stuff like that. I think that'll really help society more. Opposed to just always typing away on their Facebooks and stuff. So yeah.
I think people are just a little bit too self-centered. They think about their concerns first, and they don't see other people going on around them. Pretty much they think they're the center of the world.
It sounds kind of cliche, but just the fact that people can't really relate to one another, and they look at the differences more than they look at similarities, things like that.
I believe the basic problem with the world today is intolerance and prejudice. People tend to be set in their values already and not try to look at things from other people's perspective, and thus there's lots of prejudice and inequality like social stratification and class stratification and gender inequality.
What do you believe is the greatest difficulty facing American college students today?
I feel that getting a job right out of college is the greatest problem.
People forget to love one another. That's like we're all here together living life, and why should we hate each other when we can all work together for a better cause, so.
Learning to be an independent person.
they're trying to live up to something, and if they can't succeed, they just drop out of the race altogether. So you have either the highly successful, very stressed out people, or the slackers.
Staying motivated, I think. Just, yeah, not being distracted by this. And, yeah.
Two, having a good number. There's two things. Number one, having a great fake ID, because if you don't, you can't get in bars. And number two, there's a lot of pressure on students to succeed. Lots of students feel the need to succeed, especially with like the globalization of our economy. People has become really competitive. Like the biggest birth year since 1964 is 1988, and college has become really hard to get into and do well there.
I feel like when you get to kind of like a large school environment, it's possible that, you know, people can kind of get lost and feel like they're, you know, they're really on your own. Like with the whole Virginia Tech thing, the guy seemed like, you know, kind of a loner, and, you know, he didn't really, from what I've heard on the news, you know, he didn't, you know, communicate with people and things. And I think it kind of gets lost where you know, like in a big environment, it's tough to kind of find a spot where you fit in, and more so than like high school or something where I went to like a smaller school and you kind of know everybody and things like that. So I think it's kind of like finding your place in what you want to do.
I think the biggest problem is not just with college students, but with everyone, is just apathy. You know, people. There's all this really, you know, terrible stuff going on in the world, and people just kind of sit back and go, oh, you know, it's not affecting me, so I don't really have to deal with it. And I think that needs to change.
What makes a behavior wrong, and how do I know how I should live?
When you break a norm, which is a rule, basically, it makes it wrong because society looks at it because it's not normal. What's the second part of the question?
How do I know how I should live?
By looking at everyone else around you.
Behavior that's wrong is a behavior that hurts people.
If the world has gone wrong morally, what do you think would be the solution?
I think better education would be the solution to that.
I don't feel that there is a solution for that. If it's gone wrong morally, it's just gone wrong.
So what have we learned from today's interviews? It seems like the culture of our American college society is one that believes more in the humanistic views of humans helping themselves to a greater level of prosperity, success, things like that. Most of the interviewers were very liberal in their answers. They were very concerned about environmental issues, science. I think the one people were very interested in herbs of various varieties. Also, if you compare them to the views of C.S. Lewis has very, very concrete views of why humans do what they do, while most of the culture of America's college society sees it as each individual trying to get to a greater level by themselves. We need to be tolerant of other people, be open to their ideas, make sure the world is safe. It's almost like they're all Planeteers, with Captain Planet being there. In comparison, there seems to be this abstract, free-minded spirit, almost hippie-like, of the American culture in comparison to what C.S. Lewis says. C.S. Lewis says there's a reason people want to do something, and it's because of God, not some being that's just abstract and out there, created the world, left it, or created the world and doesn't do anything in it. And also, apparently America doesn't believe that Jesus Christ was Son of God. Most of them believe that he was a good man, a prophet, and someone who had a really good following with good ideas, but not the Son of God. So, and also that John Lennon was very influential, but I'm not sure how that fits in. So, in conclusion, it seems like the American society is not lucid in what it thinks about in these spiritual matters. It's very abstract, free-flowing, very involved with feelings, and humans bettering themselves instead of having to rely on a God because of our sin nature.